Would you be the jerk for calling your own husband a disgrace? We'll get into that in a bit, but first, am I the jerk for not throwing myself out of the way of someone walking straight at me whilst looking at their phone? This happened at work as I was walking out. The main walkway that leads from one area to another is long and narrow. Enough room for two people to pass each other without issue, but it's still tight. Now, I'm a big guy, tall, broad, and, well, yeah, a bit overweight. Due to this, I'm constantly aware of my surroundings as I know I can easily get into people's way. So as I'm walking out, down the long and narrow walkway, I'm whistling a jaunty tune since I'm happy to be leaving work. I also spy a coworker in the distance walking toward me with her face buried in her phone. She's walking down in the middle of the aisle with no sense of what's going on. As I was whistling rather loudly, I made the mistake of thinking she heard me. Nope. At the last second I said, "Excuse me," but she was oblivious and walked right into me. Being the large guy I am and her being rather small, she was jarred sideways and dropped her phone. Before I could apologize, not that I did anything wrong, and ask if she was okay, she picked up her phone and glared at me and gave me a good ol', "What the freak? My phone better not be broken." Well, so much for apologizing. I said, "Well, if your face wasn't buried in it, you would have heard me and saw my fat butt coming straight at you. Try paying attention next time." I then returned to whistling my jaunty work-leaving tune and walked away as she spewed a string of profanities at my back, including being a jerk. I'm not worried about anything happening at work about it, other than rumors being spread. Just wanted to know if I'm a jerk for being a big guy who pays attention to his surroundings. Edit, to clarify, the walkway is about 4 feet wide. Enough room for two people to pass, but not really any space to step aside into. There's equipment on either side with limited access space. Think of a really narrow supermarket aisle with just enough room for two people to pass. I think the main reason OP's not the jerk is they didn't do anything wrong. Maybe OP could have stopped, or maybe OP could have tried to squeeze to the side or something, but I don't really think that's fair to OP when the other person is so blind to what's going on around them. I feel like realistically the only way OP could have been a jerk is, and it's still kind of an iffy you're the jerk kind of thing, but if they didn't say the "excuse me" right before that happened, like what could OP have possibly have done better? Driftwood44 commented on the post, "Not the jerk. People need to put their phones down and watch where they're walking." Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy getting to decide whether or not all of these people are jerks, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? Our next story is, am I the jerk for not letting my friend work from my home? For context, I'm female in my 30s, and my friend male is the same age. We're located in Jamaica, and because of the recent hurricane, our community has no electricity. I work remotely, so I invested in a solar system due to the electricity issues. Before the hurricane, my friend also works remotely, but is unable to do so because there's no electricity. He has a generator, but he thought it would be better and cheaper to work from my home. I advised him that I can't accommodate him long term, as my home isn't large and I'm a single mother. He said that was fine. The first day he came, he was drinking our water. I told him to bring his own water as it's somewhat short at this time. Then he used the toilet without flushing. I had to point to the bucket that's next to the toilet to flush it. No running water due to the hurricane. The next day, it was overcast and the panels weren't pulling as much power. I told him this. He proceeded to charge all his devices, multiple, and use the microwave. Sigh. I didn't complain. Today, Wednesday, I realized that the meat in my freezer was soft because he plugged it out to plug in his devices. My food could have been ruined. I don't plan on buying any meat for the next couple of months as I'm very cautious about people selling spoiled meat. I didn't curse or say anything rude. I didn't even shout. I advised him that Friday is the last day. He cannot come back here to work. He was on the phone telling someone he doesn't know what he's going to do and he's been sulking and hardly talking to me. Am I the jerk for telling him he can't work here? So I thought OP was being a pretty awesome friend here, and it makes sense, help out your friend if you can. But I think immediately all goodwill is completely lost the second they unplug your freezer so they can, plug in their laptop or whatever? It's a really good point OP made about people probably selling some very suspicious stuff for the next couple of months as Jamaica recovers from that devastating hurricane. At that point, their friend isn't only taking advantage of OP, they're endangering their livelihood for as long as the supplies in that freezer could last. Learpaw commented, "He unplugged your freezer without talking to you about it? Not the jerk." The ZZ9 replied, "Sounds like OP could have been on life support and he would unplug it to charge his phone. Unplugging a freezer would have been an instant, okay, this ends now, find somewhere else," from me. Our next story is, am I the jerk for buying my niece period panties? My 30s female brother-in-law is separated from his kid's mother, and last week they came into town to spend the weekend with us. Whenever they're in town, my husband and I usually let them spend the night at our house so they can spend time with our kids. While they were here, my niece, 11, got her period. I use a menstrual cup, so I didn't have any pads at all. When I asked her what kind her mom buys for her, she didn't really know and said that she doesn't like pads because they feel weird and slide back sometimes, and she ends up making a mess. I told her that I had that issue a lot when I was her age and agreed that pads are sometimes really inconvenient. I asked if she wanted to try something different, and she said yes. I told her that I thought she was a little young for tampons or a cup, but I suggested period panties. I've never personally used them, but my best friend does and swears by them. We called her and got advice on the best kind to get and everything like that. I took her to Target and got her a few pairs. Later in the week, my brother-in-law called me and my husband and told us that his ex was really mad that I bought the panties for my niece. He said that she said I had no right to do that and that it's weird that I would buy them for her daughter. I explained that I was just trying to help, and while he understands and doesn't think I did anything wrong, his ex is now saying that the kids can't come to my house anymore. How can OP be the jerk here? It's not even like OP was trying to force a whole new method on the kid that they're not ready for. I mean, there's just nothing inappropriate to what happened. Like, it's such a reach to be so offended over the fact that OP bought the underwear for them. I mean, it's even sickening to try to imagine whatever dumb situational hypotheticals could possibly be going on in that ex's mind. Like, this wasn't like a fashion show for OP or something. Unfair Boo Bear commented, "Definitely not the jerk. You did the right thing. The mom sounds toxic and like she actively looks for drama. If someone did this for my daughter, I would thank them for caring about her and helping her out. Some people, SMH." Our next story is, am I the jerk for changing my childcare situation? My husband's sister used to watch my 2.5-year-old 2 days a week during the school year. She floated the idea a few summers ago. I was upfront that he was already in a super affordable $350 a month program, and the absolute max of our budget allowed was $400 a month. My mother-in-law and sister helped me, and I have a flexible schedule, so I only need 2 days of paid childcare. I realize $400 is not a lot, but I was extremely clear about what we were able to pay. Before the school year started, my sister-in-law asked to increase the cost to $500 a month. I was set to student teach in a matter of weeks, and it was relatively last minute, so we said yes. 2 weeks ago, she told us she had to increase the number to $600 a month to be closer to a fair market value. I was luckily able, by begging, to get my son back in the original program we had him in. I told my sister-in-law I would give her a glowing reference, and I was super grateful for her, but that I couldn't afford her rates. I sent her money for the first 2 weeks of November, even though she didn't watch him those weeks. She tried to walk it back and say that we could go back to $500, then back to $400. Then she was like, "Freak it, I'll do it for $300. At this point, I'm regretting the whole thing and will for the rest of my freaking life. There is bad blood now, and I wouldn't send my son into the middle of it anyway. My other sister-in-law said that I am kind of a jerk because I unexpectedly left my sister-in-law without the income she depended on, and she can't pay her car insurance. Am I the jerk here? Also, whether I am the jerk or not, please take a lesson from this story not to mix business and family. I think OP definitely learned their lesson here, and as painful as it is to hear them struggle and be like, "Well, without that money, I can't pay my car insurance," it's not really OP's responsibility. It's not OP's problem. It's definitely why they say don't mix work with friends or family. Because, man, it just hurts and sucks to tell a family member, your own sibling, "Hey, you're a crappy employee." To tell them, I just can't work with you. Where were the adults commented, "Oh, not the jerk. Your sister-in-law was just steadily increasing the cost to see how much she could pump you for. She didn't expect you to actually find something cheaper. This is all on her. Tell the other sister-in-law that it was sister-in-law that unexpectedly increased her rate twice after agreeing to a sum. Sister-in-law is just dealing with the consequences of her own actions." Our next story is, am I the jerk for not checking my phone when a friend bailed to meet us? I, 28-year-old male, and 4 of my friends, also 28-year-old male, finally managed to hang out after over a year of everyone being slammed with work and relationships. We all agreed to meet at this indie cinema doing a marathon of a movie series we once watched together in college. Right next to the cinema is a cafe we used to practically live in. I messaged the group saying, "Let's meet at the cinema early to grab seats," and thought everyone would know the drill. 2 of us showed up at the same time, and since the theater wasn't open yet, we went into the cafe to hang out and sent a photo in our group. Rick showed up a bit later but walked straight into the theater since it was open, and by that time we were already there. We figured he would realize and come over. Our last friend, Mark, never showed. About 20 minutes in, I noticed my phone was still on silent from work and saw one single missed call from Mark. Turns out he'd been sitting in his car in the rain looking for us outside the cinema, didn't see anyone, didn't call anyone else, and decided we had ditched him. He went home and later sent a bunch of angry texts and a long voice message full of frustration and swearing. He said we ghosted him and that he was sick of being the afterthought. I even offered to pay for a ticket to the next showing, but he said it was too late and refused. So, am I the jerk for not checking my phone and assuming he would know we left the cafe and got to the cinema when it opened? So, I myself, hearing this story, think kind of both sides. Clearly, OP and their friend went a little bit off script here, so maybe they could have communicated the new expectations or what the plans were and whatnot, but also, so could have Mark. He could have reached out to any other person. I think realistically, this is one of those situations where, well after the fact, you look back on it and you think, you know what, I should have just been extra yappy, I should have just chatted more, and it wouldn't have been a problem. It's weird because when I am in a situation like that, it does feel like it's unnecessary or tedious to give updates. Like, it feels needless in the moment, but after the fact, you realize it really could have solved a lot of communication issues. Alternative Head 416 commented, "Everybody sucks here. You should have communicated better. Sending a picture in a group chat isn't the same as a quick message to say where you are. It's also not ideal to have your phone on silent and not be checking it regularly when you're planning to meet people. At the same time, Mark should have probably messaged the group chat too to see where everyone was." Our next story is, am I the jerk for letting my stepdaughter's mom stay in our guest suite and not my sister? Carrie, 15-year-old female, is my stepdaughter from my marriage to Sam, 41-year-old male. We've been together for 8 years. Her mom, Anne, is still in the picture but is constantly traveling and only gets to stop in town for short bits of time. Because of this, Sam and I think it's important to let them have as much time together as they can. She has stayed with us in the past in our guest suite. It's not as big as it sounds, and it's always worked out okay. My sister Rachel wants to come for Christmas, and I said it will be a tight fit, but if she can take a couch or air mattress, she can. She's upset and said she should have the guest suite. I said Anne will be here. The last time Carrie and Anne were able to spend Christmas together was when Carrie was 10. Of course, Rachel is upset because she can't do a hotel or anything, and she's taking it out on me and is saying all kinds of stuff designed to get me worked up about what could happen when I go to sleep and Sam and Anne reconnect. For the record, I have nothing to worry about, and even if they did have a moment or something, I wouldn't really care. Rachel is saying that she might as well not come if she's stuck on the couch, which I really think is dramatic. So I'm asking Reddit, should my sister get the guest suite instead of Anne? Am I the jerk for giving it to the stepmom instead of my own sister? So I think OP's not the jerk, even just for the fact that Anne had the rights to that guest bedroom before the sister ever did. I mean, it sounds to me like OP arranged this beforehand. Like, I'm sorry, Rachel, but for that reason alone, OP's not the jerk. Rabbit Turd on my sock commented, not the jerk. It sounds like you and your husband have a healthy and supportive relationship with reasonable boundaries. Your sister sounds like a chaos goblin. Let mom and daughter enjoy Christmas. Tell sis to stay home and watch Gremlins. Our next story is, am I the jerk for not going to my uncle's funeral after what happened at the wake? Growing up, my Uncle Tim was a jerk. His favorite pastime seemed to be riling someone up, and then when they finally snapped, he played victim. He did this often. He also entered homes like he owned the place, was very rude and demanding. I do know a part of fault lies with his family members for enabling him, but growing up, I'd watch him treat my mom, his sister-in-law, like absolute garbage, boss her around her own house, argue with her, etc. My dad also stood by and allowed it, so again, he is at fault. My mom and one of my aunts, another uncle's wife, would try and stand up for me, my sister, and my cousins, but were constantly shot down, being told that they were too soft with us and we were just disrespectful little brats for not tolerating his antics. The final straw for me when I was 12 was when my uncle in front of me started talking crap about my mom behind her back. He said some vile stuff. I got ticked, told him off, and of course he turned around and played victim. But this was finally enough for my mom to put her foot down. She said we wouldn't see Tim anymore until he apologized. Tim, feeling he did no wrong, refused to. This went on for nearly 20 years. People would try and get us to change our minds, but we wouldn't, as we knew Tim hadn't changed. Last week, I found out Tim passed away. My dad maintained a close relationship with Tim over the years and asked that I come to his wake and funeral. I chose to out of respect for him, as I believe wakes and funerals are for the living, not the dead. At the wake, everything was fine as a wake can be, I guess. But I know people were looking at me weird and wondering why I was there. At one point, one of my other uncles, Dan, confronted me and asked why I was there. I said I was there for my dad. Dan told me that I made every family gathering awkward, that people constantly had to pick between me and Tim. I never asked them to do so. I didn't care who hung out with him. I would still go to some events he attended, like larger parties, just not smaller intimate gatherings. That's where Dan feels it's my fault, because often they felt they had to invite me over Tim. I understood Dan was grieving and just tried to escape the situation. However, he was not the only one to say something, and overall, I got the vibe that no one wanted me there. I talked to my dad after and said that I wouldn't attend the funeral. My dad really wanted me to go. I said the family clearly doesn't want me there, and I'm not interested in the drama. My dad kept insisting, but I said I really didn't want to keep hearing about how I was the problem. I didn't go to the funeral. My dad is still upset with me and feels I should have gone for him. I said I would go with him to visit Tim's grave another time, if that was important to him. He said it's not the same. I'm starting to feel bad. My dad and I haven't been close, but our relationship was getting better, and now I wonder if this will ruin it. I don't think OP's the jerk for choosing not to attend, when clearly it affects more people than just their dad if they do show up. I would say maybe something OP could do is offer to maybe go in the car with them and then just stay in the car during the actual funeral. Something where OP is pretty present and is around, but isn't actually going to be front and center during the actual procession and kind of affect that experience for everybody else. Moozlepop commented, "Info, what did your dad do when Dan got in your face and said the things? What did he do afterwards when he told him what happened? Because if he avoided raising the issue with Dan, I have no issue with you skipping the funeral." Our next story is, am I the jerk for saying, if you break, you buy? I recently hosted a dinner party for my friends, and I allowed them to bring their significant others and plus ones. One of my best friends of many years brought her boyfriend, whom I've never met until now. During said party, her boyfriend wanted to show off his ability to do a handstand, effectively knocking into one of my tables and shattering a lot of expensive pottery and glassware. No one was hurt, but everything was shattered beyond repair. My best friend apologized effusively and I said it was fine, I just wanted the items that were damaged to be replaced. I'd like to clarify that the items were expensive for what they were, vases and ornamental bowls, because they were made by small artists, but they weren't expensive overall. I would reckon $40 to $80 per item he broke, and he broke 3. He also has a stable job and is more than monetarily able to replace the items from the original sellers. I would also like to specify that this party had more of a classy/dinner party vibe. No one was drinking excessively. All of my friends are in their mid to late 20s and her boyfriend was actually older, early 30s. However, he seemed to be unable to read the room throughout the whole party and just had such a hyper energy, hence the random showing off of the handstand. This is also why I didn't put everything away, because I believe if he didn't do the handstand, nothing would have happened to the decor. My friend asked if instead her boyfriend could just replace the items with stuff from IKEA or Marshalls. I said no, as I want the original items that were broken. She responded that I was being unreasonable for asking such expensive vases and that it was an accident. I pointed out how preventable the accident was. Am I the jerk for asking for replacements for what was broken if it was expensive and an accident? Oh, he's 1,000,000% not the jerk. You break it, you buy it. Absolutely. You don't just go doing handstands in some stranger's house. All I can say is not the jerk, and that boyfriend is 30 going on 3. Look, I can do a handstand. Spare Shirt 24 commented, not the jerk. Doing a handstand, especially at a perfect stranger's house, is a stupid thing to do. Doesn't matter if you're sober or drunk. As the saying goes, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Our next story is, am I the jerk for calling my husband a disgrace after he said my miscarriage ruined his birthday? I, 26-year-old female, was pregnant with mine and my husband's 27-year-old male second child. Yesterday, I was 8 weeks pregnant. The day before yesterday, we saw a beautiful heartbeat flicking on the screen, and today I'm devastated. I was playing with our 2-year-old when I felt a pressure in my lower abdomen. Not long after, I noticed bleeding, and I let my husband know immediately that I had discomfort and bleeding. Before long, I had passed something, and I messaged him, I think I lost the baby. I wanted to keep him updated, and I guess I was seeking some kind of emotional support. I asked if he could come home, and he said, of course, if it's urgent. I said I think it is because the pain and bleeding is getting worse and I'm starting to feel lightheaded, and our 2-year-old is unattended in his playroom right now. We have no friends or family near that I could call who would get to us quicker than he could. I had to clean myself up, crawl downstairs to take paracetamol, make my son his lunch, and then put him down for a nap. At this point, my husband is still not home. He was working approximately 30 minutes away and took closer to 60 minutes to get back. Hours later when I asked, it was because he had stopped at Tesco to pick up some beers. I ended up very poorly, losing lots of blood, lightheaded, vomiting, etc., and he had to take me to the A&E. By the time I was discharged, it was almost 8 p.m. Last week, I had said I'd make him his favorite dinner for his birthday, which he reminded me when we were almost home. I said that I wasn't feeling up to it and that whatever takeaway he wants is on me. He said, for freak's sake, under his breath, and then muttered something along the lines of, this bullcrap has ruined my birthday. He didn't stop to get any takeaway. He just drove straight home. He put our son to bed and I went to bed, and I'm not sure what he did after. I didn't see him this morning as he had already left for work. He's not messaged me all day and he got home a few hours ago. It's now 8:40 p.m. and he's been giving me the silent treatment. I tried to speak to him about an hour or so ago and he ignored me, and I called him a disgrace. He slammed the bedroom door and locked me out of the bedroom. His mom has since messaged me and said that I need to be patient as he's also had a loss. She didn't ask how I was or anything. He's obviously speaking to his mom, but why isn't he opening up and speaking to me? She said I was harsh? I'm feeling utterly emotionally neglected right now. My body has been through emotional and physical heck. I understand that it came at a freaking inconvenient time for him, as it was his birthday and all. I'm not sure if it's the hormones making me feel crazy, but is it nuts to contemplate divorce? Am I the jerk for calling him a disgrace? There is so much that's just not right in this story. I think it's just very easy to say OP is not the jerk here, and their confusion and their feelings are extremely valid. Fancy and Fab commented, he's lucky all you did was call him a disgrace. I'd be calling him my ex-husband. He knows his son is home alone with you and he stops for beer? It's one thing if he can't leave work or can't leave immediately. He chose to make a needless stop. Then you lost a lot of blood and were just all around in a bad way, and he says it ruined his birthday? He wants you to cook? You said that before you lost the baby, before you had to go to the hospital for losing lots of blood. The lack of care is so shocking. Take the time to heal, You still might want to reconsider this marriage. I know it would be over for me. I highly doubt this is the only time he's shown this complete disregard for your well-being, and obvious not the jerk. Sorry for your loss." The same OP then went on to post an update. Update, am I the jerk for calling my husband a disgrace after he said my miscarriage ruined his birthday? A kind Reddit user informed me that this is the best way to do an update rather than adding a comment to my previous post, so hopefully this reaches the right people. I should have clarified in my original post from last week that the way my husband responded was completely out of character for him. He's usually a caring and supportive man and is a good husband and father. The only incident where he's shown any kind of red flags was when I put together an accent chair. I used a screwdriver to attach the legs to the seat, and when he came home from work and saw that I'd done it myself, he jumped on it until it broke to show that I didn't do it properly and that I should have waited for him to come home. He had been under lots of stress at work, so I asked him to go to therapy, which he did, instead of pulling the divorce card straight away. We've been together for 7 years in May and is the only partner I've ever known. My family all love him and have accepted him from day one. I also should have clarified, yes, I know he was the jerk in the scenario. I wasn't questioning that. What I was questioning was whether I took it a step too far in calling him a disgrace. He's going through a lot at work in the moment. It was his birthday. I'd been messaging him and telling him that I'd miscarried his child, and he had to leave work early, and then I called him a disgrace after he had taken me to the hospital and was responding to the grief in his own way. I think the majority of people said I was not the jerk in the scenario, and due to his behavior, that my insult was justified. Thank you to everyone who reached out, checked in, offered condolences and emotional support. I've read all my messages and tried to read most of the comments. Most of them have been very kind and useful and have helped a lot over the past few days. I had a scan yesterday which confirmed that everything is passed successfully. Some people may remember that I was very worried about retained tissue due to my fever over the weekend. Also, my tonsillitis is fully cleared up, so I'm feeling almost back to normal physically. I left my husband. Me and my son are staying with family in a different part of the country, so we are safe and are managing. My husband did get very angry when I told him that I was leaving him. He tried to stop me from leaving with our son, put hands on me, and threatened to end things. My mom intervened and, like I said, we are safe. I have some time off work now, so I'll continue to take time to recover emotionally and plan my next steps. Thank you if you've read this far. I doubt there will be any more updates after this. So, I'm assuming there were multiple updates to this update post because the tone changes were crazy. Like, OP at first was talking about, well, he's not all that bad and he's been a great guy, but then also shared that shocking chair story, but then immediately ended with, I left him, and it was bad. OP did go on to make further update posts, but the details of that are very sensitive and I just don't feel are quite right to fully document. If you were paying close attention to what was said in just this update alone, you would get kind of an inkling of where things did end up. Our next story is, am I the jerk for embarrassing my mom in front of the doctor? So I, 16-year-old female, and my mom, 51-year-old female, went to my neurologist appointment yesterday because my migraines have been acting up like crazy lately. My mom is really into natural stuff and has been giving me so many vitamins and random natural stuff she's found online for me to take. She gets upset if I refuse to take them. The thing is, I'm not doing that out of disrespect. I do my own research and some of the stuff she has me taking either won't do anything for my migraines or is too much. Like, she has me taking almost 700 milligrams of magnesium a day. That's insane. I brought it up to her after doing my own research and finding that I really shouldn't be having more than 400 milligrams a day, and she got ticked at me. She also gets mad when I refuse to read the ChatGPT articles she sends me, but I don't think it's all that accurate, especially because it suggested I take 850 milligrams somehow. So when she was talking about all the prescriptions and medicines with my neurologist, my mom mentioned one of the pills she has me taking. The doctor suggested I stop taking it when my new prescription comes in because it also has magnesium in it. I decide to ask how much magnesium I should be having a day, and she says exactly what I've been telling my mom, around 350 milligrams. Here's where I may be a little petty. I turned to my mom and said, I told you so. and I was playing around, but she for real got butthurt. When we got to the car, she was ticked and didn't talk to me. I don't think I'm really the jerk because I'd been telling her, but she doesn't want to listen to anything that ain't ChatGPT or anyone younger than her. It's about my health, and I was just trying to show her that I know what's good for me as well. So obviously, granted, internet research isn't the gospel, but generally you will find pretty decent feedback on how much of a limit you should be taking. Also, most supplements have a daily recommended amount. Granted, if you need supplementation, your doctor will likely tell you take more than whatever dosage is the daily recommended value. But yeah, you should be able to figure out very easily the daily reasonable amount you should take. Also, you're never doing any wrong telling any of your doctors exactly what you're taking. In fact, you kind of have to. Additional Initial 7 commented, "Not the jerk, and honestly, she probably wasn't embarrassed enough. Your mom's going to end up damaging your organs. Vitamins and supplements obviously can be toxic in the wrong dosages. Stop taking health advice from your deranged mother and only listen to medical professionals." But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy Am I the Jerk Here story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.